How's it going, everyone? Doc here with Eyes Wide Shot Gaming, and today we have a great big treat for you in the form of an OP Remnant 2 build. Stick around. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date on all of your Remnant 2 news, builds, and information, as well as many other games. We are so close on our endeavor to 1,000 subscribers. Why not join us on our journey? So we have all been hard at work breaking down and working towards all the interesting new weapons, amulets, and rings, as well as the brand new Invoker archetype. And in the process, we have discovered something truly game-breaking and amazing. The initial variant of this build was created by my good friend DormitoryPeak, an all-around good player with a knack for creating fun as well as strong builds. We went ahead and tweaked it for slightly more damage and slightly less survivability. Let's dive right into it. We start with our primary archetype, which is Challenger. The prime perk keeps us in the fight even after we go down, but the main focus is in the damage perk Close Quarters, which grants a 35% increase to all damage to enemies within 10 meters, as well as an increase to critical chance by 5%. The other perks are nice but don't apply to our overall DPS with this build. We follow up with the primary skill, Rampage, which makes us enter a heightened state of battle which increases fire rate by 10%, reload speed by 25%, and movement speed by 15% for 10 seconds. The skill doubles when we gain 10 stacks of rage by dealing damage and going berserk. The main aspect of this is the fire rate. Having it increase by 20% is a big deal. For our secondary archetype, we have the Gunslinger, again focusing on fire rate, so we look at the damage perk Swift Shot. It allows us to gain 15% fire rate, 25% range damage, and another 5% crit chance for all firearms. A massive benefit to what we're trying to do. The skill with Gunslinger is Bullet Storm. This skill unleashes the full power and speed of the Gunslinger by increasing our fire rate by another 20% and reload speed by 50%. Not that we care about reloading, but the main factor being that single-shot weapons become fully automatic, as well as, since we are using a crossbow, it also gains 15% critical chance and 50% projectile speed. Let's move on down to the Amulet. We are running the Cost of Betrayal. Granted, our relic charges drop to 1, but with it, we increase all of our damage by 25%, as long as we don't use the relic charge. For our first ring, we are using something very simple, the Stone of Balance. Although we could potentially replace it with Devoured Loop for a chance to get our skills back, but for now, we think the best bet is the Stone of Balance. The second ring in this ensemble is Xenia's Malice. Dealing weak spot damage increases weak spot damage by 5% for 5 seconds, stacking 4 times. So if we are facing a stationary boss, we can truly unleash into a weak spot, dealing insane damage. Our third ring is the Stone of Expanse. With it, we increase the range damage we do by 12% and reduce all other damage dealt by 5%. Our main focus is our range damage, so we don't worry about anything else. The final ring we have on is the Burden of the Destroyer. With it, we decrease the range of all firearms by 35%, but increase all damage dealt by 15%. With it, we cancel out the negative of our ring, the Stone of Expanse, and increase our firearm damage to close enemies. Let's move on over to the weapons. The secondary weapon in my case is the Nebula, but realistically this can be replaced with any weapon that doesn't have a mod and equip defrag to it, because it's a mod that has the highest amount of mod power requirement. Reason for that being is the mutator we have on, Spellweave. It increases this weapon's mod damage and mod generation by 15% for 10 seconds when activating a skill, and at level 10, activating this weapon's mod reduces skill cooldown by 1% for every 100 mod power spent. So at 1500 mod power spent with the defrag, we get back 15% of our skills, allowing us to go right back to our primary weapon and right into destroying enemies. For the melee weapon, we chose the Mirage. Main reason being we love how it looks and the fact that it's brand new. But this can be replaced with any melee, since we won't really be using it much in battle. Finally, we get to the bread and butter of this build, The primary weapon, the brand new Trinity Crossbow. Sitting at a maximum of 126 damage and firing 3 bolts at the same time, it may seem mediocre, but with this build it becomes an absolute unit. We equip the mod Hotshot, which imbues the ammunition with fire and increases our range damage by 15% for 20 seconds, as well as applies burning, dealing another 70 damage per second for 10 seconds. With it, we have the mutator Bandit, which on hit grants a 30% chance to return spent ammo back into the reserves of this weapon, and at level 10, when ammo is returned to this weapon, it gains 10% increased fire rate for 3 seconds. This allows us to unleash a non-stop barrage of bolts, since 30% applies to each bolt, giving us a 90% chance of ammo return. For our Relic Heart, we are using Constrained Heart. With it, we have equipped range critical damage, range critical chance, and range damage. On the right hand side, you can see our traits. The main 3 to focus on and have equipped is Longshot, Spirit, and Expertise. Now that we have the build info, let's take a look at this monster in action. As you can see, we dish out obscene damage, peaking at 13 to 15,000 damage per second. With this, Apocalypse does not stand a chance, and our next DLC should include a higher difficulty. As always, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and until next time, so long.